Hello there, and welcome back to some more Hot Lap Classic Remastered. Today we are taking a look at the 1994 Nissan Fairlady Z version S 2x2, aka the 300ZX. It's our first of 11 of these in this game, so it should be interesting. We've got a lot of these to go through, so if this one doesn't do particularly well, then don't worry, there's several more chances for this car. Of note, this particular Fairlady Z is naturally aspirated, meaning 399 horsepower, but other than that it is still front-engined rear-wheel drive, and it weighs in at a hefty 1,308 kilos, so it's not a small car. You'll also notice it is in this very fetching shade of purple. This car does have racing modification, however, there are other Fairlady Z naturally aspirated that are lighter, so they'll be running the racing modification over this one. That'll just be running in its standard guise, just to keep things a little bit interesting. Its target is the first car we ever run, the Honda Civic SIR2, which set a time of a 30.779. The Fairlady Z, probably unlikely to beat it. I mean, it's got the power advantage, a significant power advantage over 100 horsepower. However, it is also 400 kilos heavier, and it is rear-wheel drive, which does not bode well around this track. But it could surprise us, potentially. It actually feels like quite a nice car to drive, to be fair, which is not how I remember 300ZX's driving previously on this series. So, in case you're wondering why this is here, it's because it's purple. And also we've got 11 of these to go, so I figured we'd rip the band-aid off early. You'll discover throughout this series that a lot of Gran Turismo 2 is essentially cars that we're going to have to run several times in very slightly different trim levels, because that's the way this game works. Admittedly, I quite like that, because I personally believe all the games should feature cars in different trim levels to keep things interesting and not just feature whatever the quickest version of it is. I know that's probably a controversial opinion because it's known for padding car lists, but I don't really care. So, but also 300ZX in purple. What a car! I like the 300ZX. It's probably my favourite of the Fairladies. Maybe the original, whatever designation that is, HS40 or something. The Datsun. That's quite a good one. But yeah, I mean, this is just iconic. This car, Gran Turismo T-tops. What a beauty. And of course, when this game came out, these things were modern, and now they're not. Fortunately, though, they are starting to get appreciated a little bit more, because they were a little bit forgotten before. I always feel bad for the Fairlady. It always seems to be a little bit in the Skyline's shadow. I know the Skyline's technically supposed to occupy a different part of the market, but considering 300ZXs are very, very heavy indeed, they're not really proper sports cars. They're more GTs, I think, which is what the Skyline's supposed to be, but nevertheless, yeah, I feel a bit bad for these vehicles, so but we'll see how this one gets along. Of course, the twin-turbo ones are more mental. They produce in this game well over 600 horsepower, which puts this 400 horsepower naturally aspirated one to shame. But I think the naturally aspirated ones, some of the naturally aspirated ones, the lightest ones, will be running race mod, because I think the naturally aspirated ones, just because they're going to be easier to drive, might actually have a better chance around here. It'll also be interesting to see how much racing modification really does affect how the cars do around here. I did lose it on that corner, which unfortunately means this last lap will be a dud, which means the 31.650 will be the one this car gets, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't think it was going to go much quicker, to be honest. I think we got pretty much all we can out of the 300ZX. So there you go, there's a 300ZX, our first Japanese car. Oh, sorry, what am I talking about? Second Japanese car, but first front-engine rear-wheel drive Japanese car, for which we'll end up having several of those. So, yeah, interesting. And also, again, I mean, how can you not love this car in this colour? And it's also quite well proportioned, isn't it, the 300ZX? I don't know if it's aged well, per se, but it's definitely a good-looking car. And also, those front lights are straight off or were used for a Lamborghini Diablo later on in its life, so that's interesting. But yes, this car will be going into second place behind the Civic with a 31,650. Not as far off as I thought it would be, although admittedly that lap 5, was about as perfect a lap as I think you could string together in this car. You won't be able to see this for most of the series, but you can see the Civic's time down below and how the sectors break down. So yeah, the Civic was sort of quicker in every way, but you know what, I respect the Fairlady Z for its courage coming here and doing quite well. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching. Do join me next time for another car that's going to hit the Motorsports Land Track and get 6 laps, so join us for that. Until then, farewell.